Hey guys, I am Brittany Bramlett. I work here at Kingdom Kia here in Rolla, and I am the Business Development Digital Director Manager.
And how'd you get your start in automotive?
Then my mom was the receptionist at one of our other locations, and the consultant that we have, he was doing interviews, and I just happened to walk in with my 3-month-old at the time, and he's like, "Hey, I really like your personality. Let's do an interview." So here I am. Yeah, it was that easy. And our general manager, he knew my family for, gosh, he went to school with my sister and graduated with her. So he had known who I was for pretty much my whole entire life. So it just kind of all worked out in the same fashion.
Was it easier or harder to work in an environment where everybody kind of knew where you were and, knew your family, your mom's a receptionist there?
Yeah, I mean, it definitely has its benefits knowing that they know who I am, they know my personality. I can be a bit much sometimes. But then it was also challenging because it's like, oh, I have this stigma that I have to be this type of person, but then I also have to be professional in a sense of making sure that my job gets done and doing everything that needs to be done.
So how do you end up balancing that? Is there
Uh,
like a mental tick you have in your brain and then when
yeah.
it's
So sometimes I have to tell myself, like, hey, you just need to calm it down. Everybody knows who you are, but you can still be who you want to be, but still maintain that professionalism that you need to have. It's
gotcha.
definitely difficult.
And how long have you been in the position you have been?
I've been in the management position for 3 years, but I've been with our company for almost 10 years.
Gotcha. That's a long time.
Yes.
Um, so you handle a lot of the digital side, which
Yes.
obviously handles the website. With this year being what it was, very important to have a good website.
Absolutely.
What do you think this year was the big separator between competition for dealerships?
I think the big separation was being able to handle customers who didn't want to come into the dealership and being able to, oops, sorry, being able to handle the customers who wanted to take delivery at home and do all of the contactless delivery versus, coming into the dealership and wanting to buy the vehicle and sit here with all of COVID happening. And they just didn't want to be around people.
Was your team already prepped to handle that? Were you doing a lot of that stuff before COVID, or is this a lot of new stuff?
A lot of it was new, especially doing the online credit applications. We're in a very rural area, so it was very difficult for us to understand versus the big city guys who do that often, and we're still learning. So we changed a lot of our processes in the last 10 months.
One of the things that when I was talking to a lot of other dealerships is there's a trend where a lot of the older, more established guys had a lot harder time transitioning over versus people that were younger or more tech savvy. Did you guys kind of have something of a similar experience, or was your team just like, nope, we're ready to go, let's pick it up
You
and run?
know, we're all pretty young here, so it was pretty easy for us to be like, okay, hey, this is what we're gonna do. We're gonna do this online. We're gonna do the text messaging. It was a pretty simple switch. It's just figuring out what needed to happen to make that switch.
Gotcha. And I did notice that when I was looking at your team and the people who work for you, you are a very young dealership. I mean,
Yes.
average age does not seem like it is a lot of other dealerships. Do
Right.
you feel like that comes with a lot of benefits? And do you think there's also negatives to that in terms of not having this long experience in history? I mean, 10 years is a long time. I don't want to take anything away from you.
Right.
But so many dealers have been there 40 years, 50 years.
Exactly. No, I think it helps us out a lot. We're able to relate more to what the consumer wants to do and how they want to do their purchasing, pick up their vehicles, versus some of the older guys who can't get into the text messaging or the emails and things like that. So I think it definitely has its benefits, but sometimes relating to the older generation does prove to be a little difficult.
Gotcha. So obviously with COVID, everybody's more engaged online than they ever have been. What do you
Absolutely.
think the lessons were of COVID? What do you think that people should have been? Obviously, empathy, humanity is first, but
Yes.
from actually being able to make this kind of a thing work for digital websites and an automotive vertical, what do you think the lessons were?
I definitely think the lessons were making sure that we take care of the customer in the fashion that they want to be taken care of. Not everybody wants to sit in a dealership for 8 hours. You don't, I don't. So we all get that. But we also need to make sure, we had to understand that the process that the customer wanted to go through wasn't anything that we had originally thought. Once COVID hit, it all changed for us. So we got to learn to how to adapt, and that's hard.
Definitely. Um, do you think customers were like more or less enthused about this like completely digitally focused? I mean, you said you're in a rural area. It's a little bit different. I'm out here in LA, which they've been
Right.
doing contactless delivery since 2014.
Exactly.
What
I
do
think
you? Go ahead.
I was gonna say, I think people were excited about it just because we could send them the videos and they could sit in their pajamas and drink their coffee or tea in the afternoon, and here they are with a vehicle coming to them. So
What's your turnaround time for getting someone out? Let's say someone's 45, 50 minutes away. Do you guys transfer out to there, or do you have a big service range, or do you got more locally focused?
right now we're more locally focused. We have delivered up to 400 miles away. We have our sales team go out there to deliver the vehicle and bring the trade back. So we don't really have a mileage cap on anything just yet.
Gotcha. What have you done via the website um, to kind of help communicate a lot of these new concepts to people? Again, this is the first time they ever experiencing complex delivery. They're going to go on your site and be like, "Where do I go? How do I do this?"
Right.
What do you think the messaging was there?
Well, we did a lot of, well, we did a pop-up that says, hey, we do this now. We do the contactless delivery. I could not say that today. But we also, pushed our online credit application so that way customers could go ahead and get that done. And then my BDC team would just call and say, hey, do you prefer us to deliver the vehicle, or would you prefer to come in and get the process figured out for you in person? So it was just really a lot of changing how we push the customer to making sure that they're filling out the information online via the credit application and figuring out their trade information.
Gotcha. So the next question, I'm going to preface this by saying that you do not need to lie or fib.
Okay.
So how long have you been using FZ for?
We have been using it since I think we launched in April.
April. Okay. And
Yeah.
how's your experience been going so far?
It's been absolutely amazing. We had a couple of issues when we first started. The team was able to get everything taken care of for us in a quick manner. I mean, within about 24 hours, we had everything taken care of that we needed to. And also, I don't know if Jason had told you, but we had thought about shutting everything off because we weren't getting the data that we needed through the SRP and VDPs. And everybody jumped on board, and within a month and a half we had vauto and you guys working together and making sure that we got the data that we needed.
That's awesome. That's a great story. I
Yes.
mean, third parties are always tricky, but I'm happy that we could, accommodate everything, get everything in there because, I mean, you never know what the hell the request is going to be a lot of times for a lot of
Absolutely.
dealerships. But you also use like a ton of like digital marketing with us.
Yes.
Do you particularly handle that, or does
Yep.
that go through a
I
different team?
Nope, I handle that as well.
And what's your background with digital marketing? Do you have, were you doing it by yourself before? Or is this kind of like a new venture?
No, this was kind of a new venture. We had one of my really good friends. He was doing it for us for a long time, and then him and his better half moved to Texas. So they said, "Well, either figure it out or hire someone else." So I said, "I'll figure it out." So here we are.
And what's been like the learning curve for you for that? Is there any particular parts that have been like, this is like a nightmare. I hate talking about this, and this stuff I like talking about. Like, this makes
Um,
total sense to me.
at first, I basically hated it all. There was a whole cry to my husband. I'm like, I can't do this anymore. I just can't do it. But the hardest part, I think, was definitely just figuring out how Google kind of works and the AdWords and figuring out all of the acronyms. But as I moved along here, like I figured out it's not so bad. Just got to get it figured out.
Definitely. Does it help having a team run this, or do you like a smaller operation?
I like having the team run it, and then I don't have to worry about any of it. I just say, hey, this is what I need done, and it's done.
And honestly, that's like one of the best things. It's like a lot of people like to think that, oh, I need to be hands on with my digital
No.
marketing. I need to be like, I need to model every castle myself before it goes and gets built.
Yeah, no,
But
that's just too much work.
I also think it's like trying to tell your doctor what to do.
Yeah, it's not going to get you very far.
No, it's like they're the professional. Let's listen to them. Like, make sure they're on it and make sure they're doing their job, but like
Exactly.
let them handle it. Um, And what have they seen like a big increase in results, or how's that been coming through? Or especially with COVID and everything being pushed more online. I mean, we've seen traffic go up in a lot of places, naturally. So, what have you guys been seeing on your end?
Yeah, we definitely have seen a big push, not only with our trade and our online applications, but people just actually contacting us through our website versus any of the third party stuff. So we're getting a lot more organic traffic now that we've moved over to your guys's digital packages, basically, which is
Okay.
nice.
Oh, yeah, of course.
you
Otherwise,
know,
there's no point to do it.
exactly. So, and we've seen a lot of big jumps. Of course, this month in November, it was kind of down for us, but that was okay. Holidays happen. The weather was changing around here. Still not sure if we're going to get a winter. So people were kind of like, well, let's see what happens. And now we're going to start moving back in the right direction.
And it's weird because we see that trend everywhere right now.
Yes.
We see November, December, everybody's down, but like the summer months and the fall months, people are way up. Like people are shopping
Yes.
like crazy online. I think maybe people's funds are starting to switch up, and maybe some companies starting to start buckling under this. But it's good to see that you guys are still kind of maintaining. Um, what do you think is going to be so do you guys use or digital retailing yet?
No, we do not.
Okay. A lot of times what we see with digital retailing is that people just do not want to buy a car online yet. They
Right.
don't want to purchase one. What do you think it's going to take to get people over that hump and to start being comfortable with start to finish purchasing something online?
Well, I think your older generations, they're just not going to. I think the younger generations, the more, Amazon comes more prevalent, Carvana, Vroom, those are going to start pushing the things over. But I think it's just a matter of changing the way that people think about buying a vehicle. People like to touch it, they like to drive it, they like to see the features of it, they like to have someone explain to them the features. So it's going to take more than just saying, hey, you have to buy this online because of COVID.
And what's your take on like haggling? Because the younger generations, me, um, aren't really enthused about having to go there and negotiate and deal back and forth. They like having their one price deals. They like going and say, I want to pay this. This is what I'm getting. Here's the KBV value. Great. Sign
Yeah,
it
I
away.
think I think haggling is going to be one of those things that eventually goes by the wayside. I don't think that we'll see it for years to come still.
Oh, of course, because we have so many people who have been doing it for 50 years and still buy
Exactly.
cars.
I mean, sometimes I still like to haggle, so I get it.
Well, it looks like you're a little bit more of a firecracker, so maybe that's more of your personality
Yeah, maybe.
there. um, what do you think the biggest hurdle has been um, in getting like you said before, the older generation is just not as engaged online. But it's crazy for things like Facebook. I mean, the older generation blows everybody out of the water.
Absolutely.
What do you think the difference is in that? Is it just a shopping experience, or do you think that maybe websites aren't pushing towards an older demographic the way they should?
I think it's a little bit of both. I think, the older generation likes to come in and see everything in person versus, us younger people will click online and say, hey, okay, that works for me. But I think also the websites can be too much. They can be very overbearing, have too much information for someone, even for myself to even look at. So I think sometimes we get too focused on what we think the customer wants to see versus what all of the customers are actually looking at.
That's a great point. Um, you mentioned before you were doing digital walkarounds, which is excellent. Everybody should have been doing this all along. How has that transition been for you guys? Have you had to retrain team on like how to hold camera angles and show all the right things? So I'm not seeing like the interior leather couch this close or leather seat this close
Right.
away.
Um,
How's that been?
well, it's definitely our sales staff has been very receptive to it. They definitely they definitely needed some training on how to hold the camera, which way to hold the camera. We bought them some of the selfie steady sticks so that way they're not shaking all over the place. But yeah, we trained them. We've looked at bad ones, we've looked at good ones. We look at them as a team, saying, hey, this was really good, but this was really bad. This is what we need to do to improve. So it's just been really a learning experience.
Have they gravitated more to doing it, or is this something that everybody's kind of like? biting their knuckles until.
Well, we have made it a requirement of employment. I know that sounds terrible, but unfortunately, that's the way the world's going. People like to see the walk around videos. So we actually are in the process of having all of our sales staff, we've divvied up our used inventory, and they all have to go do walk arounds. So that way we can not only put it on our website, but then they're also getting the experience of making sure that they know how to do the walk arounds for customers.
And does it automatically upload, or do you upload it to your SRP VDP, or do you use a third-party service for that? How does that work?
I use vAuto, so it's our third-party inventory site.
Okay, so they do it. They can do it for you through there.
Yep, I just upload it and then it pushes it out.
That's as easy as you could hopefully have it.
Yes.
So now that the Kia program is out there and it's fully underway, fusionZONE is part of it now.
Yes.
How's your experience been with the new OEM pressures?
It's not really too bad. I feel like my GM kind of holds all of that back just a little bit. So I personally haven't seen any of those pressures from Kia yet.
Is there anything really changed with the website or anything like that, or just the same old Kia thing?
Same old. We just do what we want most of the time anyways, so makes it nice and easy. We'll take the backlash later.
Some brands like Toyota are like more like iron fist about a lot of this stuff. So I mean, that's good. Do you think that having all of the Kia dealerships have their own free reign to make it what they will is a positive, or do you think that actually would benefit from having more of a refined approach where it's a more similar thing, where every Toyota site or every Kia site you'd go to has a similar look, similar feel, similar pages?
I think it's definitely a positive thing that we have our own free reign, because then that gives us our personality. Myself and my GM are very outgoing people. We're very loud people, so we like to go above the competition. And whether that be another Kia dealership or a local dealership, we want to make sure that we can show our personality and show what Kia is doing, not only just Kia itself, but Kingdom Kia. So keeping it all similar, I think it gets boring for the consumers.
That's true. So how do you toe the line then of keeping it, similar enough that they don't get lost, or they go on a website and going, I have no idea what I'm looking at here?
Well, we try to keep the formats, the same, obviously new and used inventory, train. We try to keep all of that the same, but then just kind of throw a little extra flair, maybe a different color versus what the OEM would think, or different font than what the OEM wants.
Gotcha. And do you toy around with that stuff a lot, or?
When we first built our website, we toyed around with it a lot, but now since we've kind of gotten into the groove over the last few months, we've kind of just let it be.
And sometimes it's okay to do both, a little
Yes.
A/B test, mix it up to see how that's going. I agree. Sometimes it is just like, okay, let's let it do its thing. It's working.
Exactly. Why change what's not broken?
Exactly. Awesome. Brittany, I think we covered a lot here. Thank you so much for sharing what your experiences were. It was very insightful. We hope to have you back on for maybe a part 2. Have a happy New Year. We'll talk to you very soon, okay?
All right, perfect. Thank you so much.
See ya.